Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to this first episode of BWDBF Live, where we are hosting our very first live Q&A session with a panel of breastfeeding professionals, experts, activists, advocates here to answer your questions. I must apologize that we're starting a little bit late. We had some unexpected technical difficulties, but if you're here with us right now, we thank you for being patient. We thank you for joining us. So, first up, let me go ahead and introduce the wonderful ladies that are with us today. First up, we have Angela Tatum Malloy. She is a military wife and homeschool mother of 5 breastfed children and a grandmother of 2 breastfed grandchildren. And I apologize, my children have come in. Her breastfeeding experience began over 22 years ago. Currently, she helps to administer the Black Women Do Breastfeed page with me, and she is on the board of the Black Women Do Breastfeed nonprofit organization that we started. She's also program director for the military support group Mom to Mom Global and director of the Mom to Mom Fort Bragg chapter. Angela is currently in the Mary Rose Tully Training Institute at UNC-Chapel Hill, completing her Pathway 2 program. And she plans to sit for the IBCLC exam in October of 2016. We also have Eugenia Grider. She is a nationally recognized women's health educator with Novant Health in Charlotte. She's a speaker, birth doula, spiritual coach with the Palace Coaching Company, and the founder of the Center for Women's Health and Maternity Services. She currently serves on the board of Reaching More Sisters Everywhere, or ROSE. It's a national nonprofit that serves to increase breastfeeding within the African American community, as well as reform healthcare through breastfeeding. She was integral in launching ROSE's Charlotte affiliate chapter in 2013. She's an advisory committee member of the Mary Rose Tully Training Initiative. She's a Lamaze childbirth educator, trainer, and she participates on several quality improvement task forces with Novant Health in the greater Charlotte market. That is the baby-friendly team lead for steps 3 and 10. And finally, we have African Moon. She's a mother of 2. She is recognized most prominently as a breastfeeding activist and motivator. She is a producer of the upcoming documentary, The History of My Chocolate Milk, which we're looking forward to. She's also co-host of Blog Talk show View from Iraq and countless other community events. She's a proponent of homeschooling, natural birth, empowering women, and maintaining strong units within Black communities. And I am Nicole Sanford. I am the creator of Black Women Do Breastfeed and the president CEO of Black Women Do Breastfeed Incorporated, the nonprofit that has resulted from that page. So, welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, awesome. So, you were invited here because we have several followers who have questions on a daily basis regarding their breastfeeding experiences. And we asked some of them to go ahead and submit their questions so that they could get a chance to hear those answers addressed live from people in the field. So the first question that was submitted to us, this is from Chandra. Her baby is 5 months old, and she says, my cycle came back when my baby was 12 weeks, despite exclusively breastfeeding. Because of fluctuations in my hormones, my milk supply decreases right before and for the first few days into it. How do I keep my supply steady during this time of the month? And Virginia, if you can go ahead and field that one for us.
Awesome. First, I want to say that
because it is a hormonal issue, that if you address it by resolving the hormones, trying to increase hormones, and we know that the evidence shows that doing skin to skin increases your hormones. So doing a lot of skin to skin right before your menstrual cycle starts or in the beginning, also making sure that you make a conscious decision to be more in physical contact with your baby, that can be helpful. Hormonal changes can occur during exercise as well. Just like in labor, to heighten your hormone level, you want to move around and maybe do some walking. So some moderate exercise can heighten the hormone level, and so you may want to do that during your menstrual or right before it starts. Um, Also, just increasing frequency at that time, because of course we know supply and demand is still is into play, even at the age of, I believe the baby is 5 months, even at 5 months. So you can do that, increase your frequency or stimulation. Hand expression also increases hormone levels. So those are the things that I would encourage that mom to do.
All right, thanks. Does anyone have anything to add from the panel?
No, that was perfect.
Yep, sure was.
All right. So our next question comes from Cece, and her baby is 7 weeks old. She says, "My little one makes a smacking sound while latched and feeding. Is his latch okay? He seems to be gaining weight and burps after each feeding. Should I be worried? Also, my nipples are pretty sore when I first start feeding. It goes away within a couple minutes into the feeding." All right, so that's a two-part question. So we've got a baby with smacking, and we have sore nipples when she first starts feeding, but it goes away after a few minutes. So who wants to tackle that one?
Well, I just experienced that just yesterday. Like you said, Nicole, there are two issues going on. First, whenever a baby is experiencing smacking, you always want to make sure that the latch is that the baby has a good seal on the mom's breast. And the other thing with the sore nipples, sometimes that is an indication coming from not having the baby properly latched. What I would advise mom, it looks like the baby is 7 weeks old. Mom mentions that she is still experiencing pain. At this point at 7 weeks, she should not be experiencing pain. So my suggestion to her would be if she could find some kind of lactation care in person where she could have the baby's latch checked, and also to have someone to look at her nipples to see if there is any damage to her breast. At this point, it's difficult to answer that type of question and give any specifics without seeing mom, and that's why we encourage moms to find some type of lactation care that she can turn to for these kind of situations. But we would definitely encourage mom to go and try to find someone that can check out the latch, make sure she's getting a good wide gape, which means the baby's mouth open, and that there's a good seal around her breast that will prevent the smacking.
Okay. All right.
Also, I would like to say that perhaps she could check to see if her baby may have a tongue or lip tie, because that'll cause a smacking sound as well, which is why she'll start off with pain with her nipples and then it'll ease up later. So it could be a tongue tie or lip tie as well.
Okay. And how should she go about finding someone who can evaluate that latch and a possible tongue-tie issue? Any suggestions?
Okay, I always suggest for moms to start off where you gave birth, because that is a good location to find what type of lactation care is in the community. Also, there are community-based organizations that could help you. I'm not sure, it doesn't state like where mom is from. Some communities have La Leche League. Some communities have a breastfeeding coalition that is within their county. Again, I would always start off with where you delivered, even if it's been 7 weeks out. If they don't have outpatient care, they should have the resources that they can direct you to the type of lactation care that you have in your community. And also ask other breastfeeding moms. They may have reached out to lactation care in your community. Ask your pediatrician or your physician. But you do want to find someone, and that's why we encourage moms, when you have your babies, even if before you have any issues, try to locate that lactation professional that you can find just in case anything happens. But definitely start with the hospital and then work from there.
Okay. All right. So the next question comes from Honey V. And she has a baby who's about 2 weeks old. 2 weeks and 1 day, she specifies. She says, I am willing to breastfeed, but I don't seem to be producing enough milk. My baby always needs a bottle after because she is not satisfied. Could I get some advice? All right, so that's a pretty common question that we hear. Am I making enough milk? My baby does not seem satisfied. So, who wants to tackle that one?
I don't want to do all the talking.
I think we're going to do that one.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll start off and then hopefully someone will add in. Again, we always get these loaded questions. First thing, we want to make sure that moms really understand when they say that their baby is not satisfied, what are the things that she's seeing that indicates that baby's not satisfied. This baby, if I'm not, let's see, the age of the baby is 2 weeks. So baby is still wanting to be close to mom because, she spent 9 months in mom's womb. So I'm not sure if by her saying that baby is not satisfied, is it because baby is maybe cluster feeding, or is baby wanting to feed more often than what mom expected? So it's kind of hard to tell, but some of the things that you want to make sure is that sometimes babies, if they are feeding more frequently and you find yourself that baby is coming to breast more than the 2 to 3 hours that you expect, if you know that you have a good latch and baby is gaining properly, because at 2 weeks she should have seen her physician at some point. And if baby is gaining, it could be a matter of just baby wanting more time with mom. So we want to be careful when we quickly say because baby is eating more often than we expect that you're not producing enough milk. Again, some of the things that she can do, and I'm trying to see her question again. Now, she says her baby always needs a bottle after. Well, we know the baby's not necessarily asking for the bottle. So again, mom wants to figure out why does she feel baby needs the bottle afterwards. Is baby still fussy? Does baby want to maybe cuddle with mom? I'm not sure if mom wears her baby or whatever, but sometimes babies just need that extra cuddle time with mom. She could try some skin to skin after feeding before offering a bottle. See if that will calm baby down. It would be nice to know what were the things that she was seeing that caused her to feel that baby was not satisfied. As far as producing enough milk, if your baby is gaining weight and all other signs, there's no problem with latching, there are no issues with nipple trauma or anything, then you can't necessarily look at production by pumping or what you express into a bottle. So again, I would want to ask mom to kind of reassess what does she feel would be enough. If baby is being fed at the breast and gaining weight, she's making enough. Anything extra, if she has concerns about maybe pumping for preparing to return to work, that's another issue. But as far as determining your milk supply, that's kind of based on if baby is gaining weight. If anyone else wants to add.
I will go ahead and add to that. Just like Angela spoke about making sure that you express or communicate the signs or the reasons why you think baby is not satisfied. Of course, at that week span of 2 weeks, that is a growth spurt. And usually how I explain growth spurts, they're kind of like Thanksgiving. You know, you go to mama's house and you eat all day. And so to have that expectation that Thanksgiving is coming kind of takes away the anxiety. So with that mom, knowing that it is, you know, that 10 to 14 day, there is a growth spurt that happens, and to expect baby to be at breast, and that's absolutely normal. Skin to skin always solves hormonal concerns and helps with milk production. So I'm always going to encourage that. Feeding cues, watching your baby's feeding cues and latching your baby on when your baby does show signs of feeding cues will work that natural supply and demand principle for you. I also, and I was kind of concerned also about the frequency. She doesn't explain the frequency of her feedings. And so sometimes people read things that say, you know, every 2 to 3 hours or every 3 to 4 hours. But if you feed on demand by feeding cues, you won't have to worry about supply because your baby is going to sense and let your body know when it needs it. I have a couple of notes, so if you see me keep looking down, that's what I'm doing. I also want to talk, because this baby is only 2 weeks out, I want to talk about her actual birth and thinking about what actually occurred in birth, because this baby is still considered a newborn at this point, and so that may be a concern. Check your lochia, talk to your obstetrician about that. See if your lochia is heavier or lighter, or if it has changed. That may be of concern. Babies' weight gain, we know babies can't put out what they don't get in, so if you're seeing at least 8 to 12 diapers a day, that's a good sign. And you know, I'm always going to say again is reach out, just like Angela said, to a lactation expert. There's, I believe it's called Zip Milk, and that's on North Carolina Breastfeeding Coalition's website, where you can put in your zip code and it will help you locate a lactation consultant or a counselor. So that may be another option for mom. And lastly, I just want to encourage that mom to reach out to other moms, and sometimes you just need in the middle of the night phone call person, a breastfeeding champion that will answer your call no matter what time and say, I've been through it, or keep going girl, it's all right, or I'll see you first thing in the morning, let's go grab a cup of joe or something, just to have that support there, because everyone needs a champion.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I definitely remember the 2-week growth spurt. As educated about breastfeeding as I was in the beginning, I freaked out when it happened with my first child. So it is good to at least hear that some of this can be normal, but definitely talk to other moms and get some support from some lactation consultant if you can, in case there is an actual issue going on. Okay, so the next question, and I'm going to send this to you, African. This is from Lissa. Her baby is 4 months old. She says, happy Black Breastfeeding Week. Yay! When did your babies get full enough to sleep through the night? I nurse or bottle feed my little one to sleep most nights, and about 3 to 4 hours later she's awake. When will my milk be enough for her to sleep through the night? I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but could use a little bit more encouragement.
Oh, that's a tough one. You would throw that one to me. I'll say that it's not so much when will your milk be enough for your child to sleep through the night. It's when will your child not wake up to say, hey, I haven't been with mom in a minute. You know, I need to do that. My children are 4 and 8, and they still don't sleep through the night, and they stopped nursing years ago. Like, it's just they wake up to look for me. Sometimes, it's like, oh, you moved. Yeah, I moved because I had a toe in my face, I had a toe up my nose, and those kind of things. So, a lot of times it's not necessarily that the child needs to be in a my belly is completely full coma sleep. There are sometimes children just wake up to be with their moms. So what I tried with my son, and it actually started to work with him, is before we went to bed, I did the skin to skin. We sang a song together. I did the baby massage and those kind of things, and that actually helped him sleep longer because he felt like he was able to get that one-on-one time with me before he went to sleep, and that made him sleep a little bit longer. But we really have to try not to think about where you were talking about the Thanksgiving thing. We don't want for our children to feel so full from breast milk that they're full for 8-9 hours. That's not normal. It's not natural, and that's not what we want. That's one of the reasons why formula is so unhealthy, because it does that. We don't want that from our milk. So once your children actually say, you know what, it's not just that my belly feels empty, but I feel satisfied, period. I have my mother's time, I have my mother's comfort, I have this, and I don't need anything else right now, so I'm comfortable enough to go to sleep during the night. That's when that'll happen, and that's just based off of your child's personality. That's not a lack of nutrition from your milk. That's just something that your child has to go through, and you have to just give them that time and be patient.
And just to add to that, and like African said, your child is used to you being there at a certain interval of time, and so you've conditioned your child and your body as well to wake up and often be with child. So you have this human conditioning, this psychology part of it that happens because I'm used to waking up. It's kind of like on Saturday mornings, although you don't have to get up, your body still wakes up whatever Monday through Friday time that you wake up. So that's some part of it, as well as, weight gain has a lot to do with the child's weight, whether a child sleeps through the night. And you think about a 4-month-old, there's still some weight gain that's going to happen. And sometimes, you notice that children that are a little bit heavier will have a little bit of a fat reserve to hold them over. But I often say, as parents, we wake up for middle of the night bowls of cereal. And then don't expect our kids to wake up for a middle of the night bowl of cereal. So, be aware that they are humans just like we are. We have second helpings of cheesecake after dinner, after we've had a full meal and dessert. And sometimes they want a second helping. And so just to be flexible in regards to time frame, or when to actually eat, because they are humans just like we are as well. And sometimes they want a little extra snack in between, or a midnight snack.
Absolutely. Does anyone want to comment on the developmental of waking up?
I wanted to add to that, and with the developmental part. Also, we want to remember, because the baby is 9 months, so still, under the age of 1. And what we have to remind ourselves at all stages, especially when we're dealing with people that are eating. Oh, 4 months? I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong question. Oh, 4 months, that's even younger. So what we want to remember is mom's prolactin levels are highest overnight. Mm-hmm. And so that's a good thing that baby is still, waking up in the middle of the night, because your goal, she doesn't say what her goal is, but if she does have a goal of, reaching 6 months, 1 year, or even longer, those night feedings are beneficial for mom, and that's going to help with her milk supply as well. So it's not just for baby, it is helpful for them because they are, expressing some kind of need, but it's also helpful to mom because the baby kind of senses and knows, hey, something is a little better at night, and for mom, that's helping with her supply. And so don't discount the quality and the importance of those night feedings, especially when you want to make sure that you maintain your milk supply. Okay, I think we're waiting on Nicole to...
All right. I'm sorry. I had to unmute myself. Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to the next one. This one is from Elijah's mommy. And Elijah is 9 months old. So she says, Elijah is exclusively breastfed and is my third breastfed baby. He was getting breast milk at daycare from 2 months until 7 months while I was at school. In July, I got married and left him with my mother, and he got 5 days of my breast milk by bottle. I use event bottles since birth. Now that the honeymoon is over and I'm back to school, Elijah will not take a bottle or cup or a cup of anything from anyone. He will only take breast milk from the breast or me, or / me, and his cereal and baby food. He also doesn't tolerate any real solids very well. He sort of gags and spits up. He only eats puffs and crunchies. He also has allergies to wheat and barley. Please help, as I am unable to leave him for any long period of time because he refuses milk. Okay. We kind of have a multitude of things going on, but primarily little Elijah is refusing milk if it does not come straight from mom. And he's not that enthralled with solids just yet. What should she do?
Okay, so I had this with both my children, actually, when I was working in school. Neither of my children would take a bottle ever. And I will wait. You know what? I'm going to start off with the fact that he's not tolerating solid foods well. He's just not ready. Not just because he's 9 months old does not mean that he's ready for solid foods. The fact that it's not staying down, or he's choking, or he's gagging, or whatever the case may be, he's just not ready. So don't force it. I know, we have that mindset that after a certain age, at 6 months you do this, and 9 months you do this, and no, you have to go by your child's cues, and your child's cue is saying, Mom, I'm not ready yet. Second, with the feeding, yeah, he took a bottle before you left on your honeymoon, and now he knows Mom is back, and so he doesn't want to be bothered with the bottle. So I got real big on reverse nursing when I was going to school and working with my children, and that's simply where they didn't nurse during the day because they wouldn't take a bottle. So they would have some water here and there, and they would have some pureed foods. But for the most part, they waited until we got home. This is one of the best things about breastfed children. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. So they will figure it out. They will figure out that Mom's not here. I don't want anything else, and that's fine. I will wait for her to come home. The fact that it's worrying you is the problem, but trust me when I tell you, little Elijah is brilliant. He has decided that this is the path that he wants to take, and let him. There's nothing that's going to happen if he has to wait to get breast milk when you get home. I did it for 2.5 years with my daughter. I did it for 1.5 years with my son. It'll be perfectly okay. So stop stressing yourself out, because all you're gonna do at the end of the day is decrease your milk supply, and then you're not gonna enjoy how brilliant little Elijah has already become. So don't worry yourself. It happens to not to everybody, but you get those children that just say, I don't want a bottle. I want my mom, and if I have to wait 8 hours to get my mother, then I'll do so. It's normal, and don't worry about it. It happens.
All right, thank you. Anyone have anything else to add?
I wanted to add, because I had and have 5 children that would not take a bottle. And with the 4, I didn't work, but with my last one, Isabella, she wouldn't take a bottle, nor was she ready for solids until she was around 14 or 15 months, and that was okay. She remained a very healthy child. I tried introducing solids at 6 months. She didn't want it. Tried at 7 months. She didn't want it. So I followed her cue, because remember, breast milk is designed and meant to be the main source of nutrition for babies up to a year anyway. So when you're thinking about introducing complementary foods, it's just that it's complementary to your breast milk. So that part is fine. Now, the key thing I'm sure you want us to address is that last sentence that you have, which is that you are unable to leave him for any long period. So I know that's probably what you really, because right now you've already been assured that baby Elijah is getting whatever he needs. He will figure things out. He will reverse cycle if he needs to. But what I want to address is for you trying to figure out getting those longer periods of being away. And just giving a suggestion from what I did it in increments, and it was kind of like a milestone for myself. First, I would give myself 1 hour. And so I figured out, okay, that 1 hour trip was running up quick runs to the store, getting something real quick, and coming back. The next month, my goal was being away for 2 hours. That was maybe a little longer grocery shopping trip, maybe something that I could do for myself, go to the coffee house. And so I just slowly worked up. And I think when I took my expectations of having those longer periods coming quickly, and I put them back into shorter increments, it took the stress of me trying to figure out how to get out longer. Now, if you're in class or working, I was doing the same thing. I did my schedule based on what I was able to do at the moment. When I worked up to being away for 4 hours, that's when I started back working part-time. As the time got, and this probably worked out until about maybe 16 to 18 months, where I was able to be away up to about 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours, and Isabella was okay. So that's something that you want to consider as well. Try to see if you can regroup, look at how you can look at what you need to do. If it's for casual purposes, especially since you're newly married and you want to find time with your husband as well, start off small, where it's an hour away, and then work your way up. So we're not telling you that just kind of sacrifice your time of getting away and completely have everything centered around Elijah. What I'm saying is find a way that both of you can adjust and grow through these milestones together, and then that way it'll take the stress away, and you'll also get to see the changes. Because if you at the beginning was only able to be away for 1 hour, and then now you're able to be away for 4 hours, you appreciate that time better, and so will baby Elijah as well. So that's what I just wanted to add to that.
All right, thank you. And I certainly understand the stress that comes with a child who does not fall in line with the recommendations for starting solid food. My older son, he refused solids until he was well past 12 months old, no matter what I did. He eventually started running if he saw a spoon come near him. So, but he's 6 years old now. He eats all sorts of things, and he's fine. So hopefully little Elijah will be just fine. But if you do begin to worry about his health, definitely follow up with his pediatrician or your chosen healthcare provider. But hopefully he remains perfectly well. All right, so the next question is from Keisha. Her little one is 1 month old, and she says, I'm pumping and breastfeeding. How can I increase my milk supply? I'm pumping every 2 hours but seem to get very little. When I pump 3 to 4 hours at a time, I get up to 4 ounces. I'm guessing she might mean pump every 3 to 4 hours. I'm not sure. But she gets up to 4 ounces. I don't feel that I'm making enough milk. And it looks like she might be starting back work or school soon, and she does not want her supply to go away. So, who wants to tackle that one?
Well, I can do that. I can start it off. Angela? One thing is the baby is only 1 month old. So we're talking about a 4-weeker, and then it's a reality that moms have to either go back to school or back to work earlier and sooner. It's a reality that hopefully one day will change, that expectation. But for this 4-week-old, one, I would love to ask, why does she feel like her supply is low? And if that is just mom's expectation of trying to make an 8-ounce pump bottle, which is not going to happen at 4 weeks necessarily, and it's okay. The second thing is just to encourage mom about the frequency of pumping and the duration or of feeding. Is you want to make sure that your child has 8 or more feedings in a day. If baby's weight gain is good, being aware, as Angela said earlier, about when prolactin levels are really high. You wake up early in the morning is when your milk supply is at its highest. Maybe then you want to pump and then feed. And just because you're pumping every 2 to 3 hours or every 3 to 4 hours, sometimes you do not get the result of supply and demand immediately. So it depends on how long that process has been going on. Encourage mom in regards to concerned about baby gaining weight. Go to the WIC office, to the hospital, your doctor's office, possibly pediatrician, and get a weight check. That can sometimes be reassuring for moms to continue to move forward. And again, going right back to skin, rooming and feeding cues are going to be your top things to help resolve or your concerns.
Yeah, and Regina, she kind of touched on the important things, the skin to skin. What I would also like for mom to do is whatever kind of pump she has, make sure that the flanges are the proper size. Mm-hmm. And if she doesn't know how to do that, wherever you got the pump from, if you are able to go to WIC, they can help you. Again, finding that, and that's why we keep stressing, and you'll hear us throughout this entire broadcast, having a lactation expert that can help you with these issues. If you're not familiar with, is this the right flange size? Are the membranes on my breast pump, were they damaged when we were putting them together? Even though she probably has only been using it for 1 month, whoever put it together may have accidentally ripped the membrane. Or, so those are the things you want. And that's why we tell moms, don't feel like, the pump is an indication of your milk supply. Another thing that we want moms to start learning how to do and doing is not just pumping with your pump, but also hand expression, because you're getting back to having that touch as well. And we know that the touch, along with what baby does at the breast, that helps with your milk production as well. So learning how to hand express. Some moms, I was one of those moms that a pump would not, I just could not get anything out with the pump. But hand expression, when I chose to, I could get, 3 to 4 ounces depending on, when I chose to do the expression. So it's always good for moms to learn hand expression, even if you do have a pump, even if you're satisfied with how the pump is working, because again, that touch along with expressing the milk, that's going to help you also. Another thing, let me see, I wrote some notes down. What you want to consider is when you started pumping. We always try to get moms to focus on getting that good relationship with your breastfeeding with baby at breast first. And a rule of thumb that I kind of use with moms, I always find out where they are, how soon they have to go back to work, and I usually divide that time in half. So you can take whatever your time is, whether it's 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 months, and I divide that in half. And we try to see if moms can focus the first half just having baby at breast, your skin to skin, getting that milk supply up, and then focus on pumping. I know a lot of moms, they want to pump right away, especially if you only have 4 weeks. You figure, I need to start right now. But, you know, those first 2 weeks of focusing on just baby at breast and all those other things, you'd be surprised how much more of a milk output you will get in doing that. And with mom already doing this, she can go back and do what Virginia mentioned, skin to skin. Skin to skin is always perfect at any age. Believe it or not, my 2.5-year-old, I don't know, because my schedule has changed, I've been away from her more. She's been directing me when to do laid back feeding, skin to skin, and I've been lately observing her because I think she knows how to operate her milk and she knows what she needs. And so sometimes she'll tell me, no, mommy, and she'll raise my shirt and she wants to be touching me. And, you know, now with more knowledge, I'm realizing, okay, maybe my milk supply is adjusting a little bit. Sometimes I'll see her squeezing my breast. You'll notice that. Again, that touch is helping. So I would just advise this mom, try to get back to as much of having baby at breast as possible. Do the skin to skin. Let your baby's hands be touching your breast because all of that helps with milk production. And then, you know, reassess your pumping schedule and also reassess your expectations. 1 to 2 ounces. I always tell moms 1 ounce over the course of a day. If you do that, you know, 4 or 5 times, that's 5 ounces. You don't have to have the 5 ounces at one time because you can add breast milk to what you previously pumped and collect it that way. So that's why if you've noticed on the page, we don't share as much of the milk stashes anymore because, you know, that sets moms up to that unrealistic expectation that I need to have 55 bags or 85 bags before I go back to work. You really just need enough for your baby to have milk while you're gone. And some moms just focus day by day. So just kind of reassess your expectations and some of the suggestions that were made and see. And also make sure you have that pump checked out. That's also important as well.
Okay, I want to go to this next question really quick because it's actually really similar. And African, if you have anything to add with this question. This is from Kayla. Her baby's 3 weeks old, so not that far from the previous mom's baby. She says, my milk supply is really low and doesn't seem to be increasing. Any suggestions on increasing my supply? I am currently supplementing but prefer not to. Now, she does not state how she knows her supply is low, but this is a really common question, especially for moms whose babies are really young. The expectations in terms of what your supply should be. So, African, if you want to go ahead and add to that one.
It always worries me when I see a mother with a child that young saying that their supply is low, because how do you know? How do you know? That's always my first question is, what makes you think your child is not getting enough milk? Unfortunately, we're in a spot where a lot of our minds are still thinking along the lines of our children are drinking formula. So because my child is latched on every 45 minutes as opposed to every 3 to 4 hours, then my milk supply is low. My grandmother said, that child keep eating too much, you're not making enough milk. So then my milk supply is low. That this question for the lady with the 3-week-old is really hard to answer without knowing why she feels this way. But I will say, without a shadow of a doubt, if you're supplementing, you will have some issues. So stop it. If you want to increase your milk supply, then keep breastfeeding. If their child is on your breast every 45 minutes, let the child be on your breast every 45 minutes. That having that child, the skin to skin that we they keep talking about right now, this is imperative. This is the time where your body needs to figure out what it's doing. Your child needs to figure out what's going on, and the moment you start adding things on there to take your child away from your body, even for a couple feedings a day, you're decreasing your milk supply. One of the things that I did when I had my daughter is I breastfed during the morning. So this is when I had the most milk in the mornings. So I would breastfeed on one side and I would pump halfway while she's nursing on one side. I would pump, and I would find that I would actually get more milk that way. So I would pump halfway through. I'll let her nurse off of the one side, and then I let her finish nursing off of the other side. And I would notice that my milk supply, not only was I getting enough milk for the little bit of time she did take a bottle to let her have that bottle, but my milk kept coming in, and it was coming in at a fast rate, because I had that supply and demand thing going. And I mean, these things are really important. So if you feel like your milk supply is not where you want it to be, stop supplementing. Try the pumping. Try the pumping while nursing, because you will be amazed at how much milk actually comes out of that other side while your child is nursing. But don't do it the whole time. A few minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. I wouldn't even say 10. I'd say 5 or so minutes. Just pump and get the milk going, and then let your child finish off on that side, and you will be amazed at what comes from that. And then stop worrying. That's a big thing. Stop worrying. Stop thinking about the fact that you're supposed to be a machine. You're supposed to be the factories and all of these things. Your body knows exactly what it's supposed to do in order to feed your child. Your child knows exactly what that child is supposed to do in order to have your milk come where they are satisfied. So believe in yourself and believe in what your child is doing, and stop worrying so much. And that's what I tell people all the time, is all of these concerns they're not real. They're not real. They're all made up in our heads. And a lot, not even made up in our heads, a lot of it comes from the people around us. So stop listening to what everybody else is saying, or stop listening to that little negative voice in your head, and just keep doing what your body is made to do. And that's just to keep putting your baby, to your breast as often as you possibly can, as often as that child wants to be on your breast. And you will notice that your child will be satisfied when mom is comfortable with what she's doing.
I do want to add that if you do have true concerns about your supply, and you notice that your baby is not seeming to thrive on breast milk alone, you definitely want to follow up with a lactation consultant, because they can try to measure what your baby's intake of breast milk is. So they can weigh the baby before breastfeeding, and then they'll weigh the baby afterward, and that'll let them know how much that baby's really taking in from the breast. That's one of the ways that they can gauge if there's a supply issue going on. You're supplementing, so it's hard to say if weight gain is being affected by a lack of breast milk, but you definitely want to follow up with a lactation consultant. And like Angela had said earlier, start with the hospital where you delivered, because more and more hospitals are having lactation consultants on staff to be able to help you, not just while you're in the hospital, but even after you've gone home. So definitely do that. And also at 3 weeks old, that is a prime time for a growth spurt, and a lot of moms, myself included, start to freak out about whether baby is actually getting enough because they seem like they are constantly hungry. But if you think about it, their brains, their bodies are going through a rapid period of growth and they need milk. So they will come to you. And it's not a bad thing because it's putting in an order for your body to make more milk. The more that baby's on your breast, the more your body gets a signal, I need to make more milk. I have a demand that I need to fulfill. Okay.
But before you go on, I want to, because I know, oh, we have echoes. I have wanted to add, because I know with these questions what everyone who may ask these, what they're waiting to hear. And the way that I'm going to mention this is putting it in perspective of maybe why it's not being mentioned. And those are galactagogues. I know when people want some kind of help with supply, they want something quick and easy. The lactation cookies, the teas, the fenugreek. And a lot of times when you see a lactation professional, a lot of them, their focus is showing you how your body can do what you're asking it to do, and not to rely on anything outside of your body. So if some of you that hear us addressing supply issues and you're thinking, okay, why haven't they told us what to, those lactation cookies or that fenugreek that I hear everyone talking about? It's because we know that the things that we're telling you, the skin, making sure that your expectations are realistic, understanding what baby hunger cues are, knowing if you do something different, if you're away a little longer, how all those things affect your milk supply, and then understanding how your body produces milk. I've been trying to tell more and more moms, when you understand the connection between the touch and the baby's saliva and the skin and those night feedings, all of that stuff, when you understand how it plays a role in your production, you won't be looking for those things outside of what your body can do. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. I didn't want anyone thinking, okay, they're not really answering it. We're answering you the way that we know that your body can do those things. So.
I just wanted to add, just making sure, because this is a new mom, and I mean her baby's 3 weeks old, but making sure that also that she's emptying her breast and what that feels like, because sometimes a milk production could be based on the breast not being completely emptied. And a good way to kind of judge that is when your breasts are full, they feel kind of like a bag of rice. It has a little bit of weight to it. It's still squishy, but it has some weight to it. To compare to, and I'm probably dating myself, but you guys may know this, a Beanie Baby. It still has that same consistency, but that Beanie Baby is light. And so a Beanie Baby is like a stuffed animal, where it still is squishy and pliable, and you can just kind of squeeze it in your hand, but the weight is lighter compared to you handling or holding a rice bag, which has some weight to it that you can actually still squeeze, but it's much heavier in consistency. So just making sure that your breast is really lightweight and squishy to make sure your baby's empty out, because what they talk about when you hear people talk about Hind's milk is where all that fatty milk is, that fat content. And so if you're concerned about your baby getting enough or gaining weight, it may be because there's some Hind's milk that's kind of sitting there and it's not emptying out, so your baby can get that cream, that heaviness. That is also a way to help your baby sleep, get some good sleep as well, because that cream does digest a little slower than the formula.
Another example, and just quickly, for those of us that are not our age in Virginia, I had Beanie Babies. But an example that I had gotten was that if you touch your nose and feel what the tip of that feels like, that's kind of similar to what a full breast would feel like. Then if you touch the side of your cheek, that's what an empty breast should kind of feel like. So if your breast kind of feels in between your nose and your cheek, it's probably not completely empty. So that's something, another tactile visual that you can have in knowing, what that should feel like.
Okay, I want to add one more thing quickly, because I don't want people to forget the fact that our breast milk is made off of the happy hormones, So while we're looking for ways to increase our milk supply, try laughter, try having fun, try anything that you can do that will bring some joy into yourself, and that helps. That helps, having that laugh with your child, sitting down and watching them play with their toes or whatever, and getting that happy feeling. That helps with milk supply as well, which is why I keep saying just not stress, because that decreases that hormone. Find what makes you happy, and incorporate your child into that, and that will help with your milk supply as well.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to move quickly to the next, one of the other questions that we have, and this is also a pretty common question that we get. This one is from Erica. Her baby is 6 months old, and she says, "I'm slightly terrified every time I nurse my little one. Ever since those two little cute bottom teeth started budding, he bites and sometimes thinks my reaction is funny. What can I do to stop the biting?" Man, if I had time for every time I heard that question, who wants to tackle the biting scenario that is so common?
I'll go ahead and address it. I remember this so clearly. The first bite, toes curled, arched back, completely tears streaming down my eyes at 2 o'clock in the morning. My youngest, Naomi, she was a biter. And one of the things, just in thinking about just parenting in general, when our children show signs or behaviors of things that we don't approve of, we redirect them or distract them. And so that is a way that you can kind of stop the biting. And if it persists, because like this mom who said, she kind of thought it was funny, the baby thought it was funny, and Naomi was the same way. You can release the latch and say, we can't continue with that behavior, and do it in a gentle mode, so they're don't feel like they're being disciplined, but just not approved of the behavior. So distraction and releasing the latch and starting over again. I cannot reiterate or stress enough to say that in such a gentle way, because you don't want to hinder feeding at all. So just try to, as much as possible, be as gentle about the response as possible.
And I'll add to my Bella. I'm trying to think with the other 4 older kids, because they're much older. I can't remember if they bit, but my Bella, who is 2.5 now, and my grandchildren, because they were nursing as well. And my oldest daughter, she would kind of laugh, and she would be upset but laugh as well. And what I told her is, you got to be careful about the reaction that you give, even if it is, if you happen to yell or scream, because babies, they like entertainment, and they like to be entertained, and if they may like seeing you scream and yelling out. So as Virginia said, you do want to respond mildly, but even if you respond not so mildly, they may be entertained by that. So you really want to make sure that you are not creating a situation that they want to see repeated again. So that's why, think of it as entertainment. You don't want to entertain your baby. You don't want her to say, you know what, I feel like seeing mommy yell, so let me kind of just bite down on her. So your response is important twofold. You want to make sure that you don't hinder the breastfeeding relationship and that you're not entertaining the baby. So if you make it as eventless as possible in stressing, I always would say to Isabel, no, Bella, that hurts mommy. And I might stress the word hurt. And I even did this, a lot of people may say, well, at 6 months, 4 months, they don't understand those words. They don't understand words, but they understand tone and our facial expressions. So babies, the one thing, even if they bite us, their instinct is they always want to see mommy happy, and they don't want to see mommy sad. So if they see that something that they did may have, hurt mommy just by looking at the facial expressions, they're not going to want to repeat that. That's not the kind of entertainment that they want. So that's why you want to make sure that you, even at 4 to 6 months, they understand what you're expressing to them. Another thing that I tell mothers is, when babies are actively nursing, it's impossible for them to bite. They cannot bite down. So if you know that you're coming around that age where babies are starting to get their teeth, they're teething, we have to pay more attention during that time. If they're not actively nursing, go ahead and remove your nipple. Even if they're not finished, if they want it back, then you put it back in, because that act is also teaching them, okay, I only get to have this when I'm actively eating. I don't get to use this for any other reason. So that, again, I tell moms, make sure that you're paying attention. Sometimes and I would have to even acknowledge with myself, when Bella would bite down and she would get that, it was usually if I was doing something, I was watching television, maybe texting. So she wasn't eating, she's bored, she's sitting there, let me bite down. So those two things you want to remember, not to do something that entertains them, and be more vigilant of the nursing session during these times when they're teething.
Okay, thank you. The next question I want to move on to quickly. This is from Chastity. Her baby is going to be 10 months old next month on September 12th. And she asks, when is it appropriate or recommended to begin the weaning process? Or is it better to self-wean? My baby girl loves her boobies, and I don't think she will ever let go. I love breastfeeding. This is truly amazing and beautiful, but since she's never had a bottle, it's little, if no time away or to myself. Who wants to go first?
I have to say I don't actually like answering those questions for a person who has a child that's not even a year old about weaning. I understand the desire to say I want a few hours to myself, but at a child that's under a year old, it's not possible for them to eat enough food or a lot of varieties of food to get the nutrition that they would need without the breast milk. So I'm going to have to leave that one to someone else, because I definitely stay away from that question. You will never hear me tell someone how to wean a child that young.
I'll jump in. I'm kind of like African. I don't, even with my children, my oldest breastfed until 3 years old. She kept saying, I'm going to stop at 6 months. My 21-year-old, she's still breastfeeding at 1.5 years. But to address what the mom is asking, first off, she said, what is we're not going to go with appropriate, because we don't want to say what is appropriate or what's not. I'm going to go with her second word, which is what is recommended. So we have 2 organizations that have recommendations. We have the American Academy of Pediatrics, which recommends at 1 year, and we have the we have the World Health Organization, which recommends at 2 years. And I often ask myself, why is there the difference between the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendation and the World Health Organization? Well, it was explained to me some time ago that the American Academy of Pediatrics, they had to also consider working moms and when they were going back, and also getting the legislature approved. So 1 year sounded a little better to recommend than 2 years. So whenever we say 1 to 2 years, we're acknowledging the recommendation from the American Academy of Pediatrics, but we like to try to look at what the world is, what that trend is. And the world trend is, try to get at least to 2. Now, what is natural, and I just had this conversation with my grandmother, my children, because they see Isabella, she's 2.5, she's going on 3, when is she going to stop nursing? And I brought it to something very simple. We know that a lot of times children's teeth, when they're, their baby teeth, they're also referred to as milk teeth. And I often ask people, what is the average age that children start to lose their milk teeth? And they'll say, oh, 4, 5, 6, 7. I said, okay, then that's the average age that children will start to naturally wean. All of this is tied in together. So between 4 and 7, and again, you may have some, and I address the issue, well, what if you see a 7.5 or 8-year-old nursing? Well, have you ever seen a 7.5 or 8-year-old still losing their baby teeth? So if you kind of look at it that way and put things in perspective, and I like putting things into perspective. So you do, if you are comfortable with letting your baby naturally wean, then just know what that natural process is, so that when you're starting to get the people asking you questions, you know what that process, and you have something to equate it with. So that's the recommended. The recommended weaning process, if you want to go naturally, it's based on what your child will do. Now, there are some moms that they're just not, they don't want to do it until 4 or 5 or whenever the child decides, and that's perfectly okay. So the best answer for that is the appropriate age to begin weaning is when mom and baby, one of the other, has that need, okay? Because we don't want to set up a situation where moms are feeling like their bodies are under lockdown. Again, I don't like putting a time frame because, it would be nice for babies to determine that, but we do have to understand that moms, not all moms are able to allow the self-weaning process to begin. So that's something that you have to kind of decide for you and your baby yourself. And I'm trying to see the other part of her question. I think that's basic. And you say that she loves it and that you love it. So what I'm getting from this question is you're not wanting to know. You are starting to have people ask you questions about it. So again, if you're comfortable and baby's comfortable, that's all that matters. Now, if you are married or you have a partner, then of course you want to address those issues and have communication, because we don't want to create situations where you're not communicating with your partner. But again, it's a mother and baby connection and process. So that's what you want to kind of focus on. Mom and baby will communicate with one another when that process is best for them.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I also wanted to add, because she did mention wanting that need for time away for herself. And I've been parenting for about 6 years, 2 little ones, and I can say that even if you're not breastfeeding, they still need you, and they still make demands on your time. So weaning does not necessarily solve that issue. Things like your baby's age, maturity, and how much help you have around you can help alleviate that a little bit better, I think. So there's just something to consider. But definitely weaning is a process that, while there are recommendations, it is often a personal thing between the mom and the baby or babies, if you have multiples involved. So that's just something I would say, just don't put limits on yourself. Just kind of take it one day at a time, one day at a time. And if you're still both loving it, then there's nothing wrong with continuing. All right, so let me address this question, because we sort of kind of talked about it a little bit, but I just want to give this woman a shout out. And I'm sorry, I don't have her name right here, but she says she has been exclusively breastfeeding her triplets for 3 months. Triplets. Round of applause. Things have been going well, but recently I have had a significant decrease in milk production. I am not doing anything different than I was previously, but now I have to look into supplementing with formula just to make sure they are getting enough. I know they aren't getting enough currently because they cry after a nursing session, which is not usual for them. I know pumping is not an accurate indication of how much they're getting, but pumping is not yielding very much anymore either. Do you have any suggestions of something I could do, because I really don't want formula to be an option for us? Thanks for the feedback. All right, so she knows that pumping is, your pumping output is not necessarily an accurate indication of how much you're making, but they are crying after feeding, and she is feeding 3. So what can we say to this mom? And by the way, mom, congratulations on exclusively breastfeeding triplets. Hats off, literally, or figuratively, really. All right, so who wants to take this one? Angela, I know you had some things to say about it.
Yeah, I thought when you had said you were going to take this one, but yes, first thing, like Nicole said, hats off, everything off to mom, because triplets, that is just absolutely wonderful. So, I just want to kind of reiterate what Nicole said. Getting to 3 months exclusively breastfeeding, that is, and triplets. Twins were like, okay, you have 2 breasts, but now she's truly juggling, 3 babies and doing that interchanging thing. So that, and I bring that up to say, the interchanging, you may want to look and see, are they going through growth spurts? The way that you're interchanging them, is that still working? I wish I could give you a process of interchanging triplets. I just don't have one, because I've never done that. But that's something that you can reassess for yourself. Do you need to kind of update what has been working for you so successively for 3 months? Because you are going to see that little growth spurt that they're having right now, and you're seeing 3 growth spurts. So this would be a perfect time. Some people wonder what need could you have for a lactation professional, once you have this breastfeeding thing going. Sometimes they can help you come up with a plan that works as your needs change. Not just for working moms, but in this situation with a mom with triplets. Because, you may have plenty of friends that breastfeed, but they have no suggestions for you with triplets. So reassessing the process that you're using to interchange the babies. Also, I would also like to ask the mom, as far as with her, has she experienced any changes? Has she started getting her cycle? That's another thing that you want to see, has that happened? I'm not sure, it doesn't mention, okay, it does say that she is pumping. Oh, also, she said that her pumping is not yielding as much. Going back to what we said earlier, if she's been using the same pump for 3 months now, it might be time to kind of change those parts up. The membrane, check the flanges. I know for myself, my nipples changed in size from the beginning of my nursing and as I went down further into nursing. So, you always want to go back and reassess the pump, make sure that the membranes are intact. I would replace them just because you've been pumping for 3 months and pumping, trying to provide for 3 children, making sure that you still have a good seal. lactation professionals and others, they have gauges that you can have your pump suction checked as well. So if you have a concern with your pump. But as far as with your milk supply, you can get all three of those babies or as many as you can and skin to skin. You have a lot of skin to skin to work with. Going back to the basics, doing your skin to skin, trying to make sure that you get in those night feedings when your prolactin levels are higher. Those are some things that you can do, but definitely try to seek some kind of outside help from a lactation professional that can help you devise a plan so that you can meet the goal that you have set. Apparently, you said you don't want to introduce formula, and so they can help you try to meet that goal and assess your process so that you can continue doing what you have been successfully doing.
Okay. Anyone have anything to add to that?
Also to add, sometimes when you have multiples, you get used to a particular or a position that's really comfortable for each one. Switching up positions of babies can sometimes activate different milk ducts to be more productive, and so maybe just changing the position of the babies as you deliver as you feed, that could be really helpful as well. I know it's very common for a mom of twins to do the football hold to feed both, and sometimes those under milk ducts don't get stimulated as much, or the side milk ducts. So maybe attempting to change the position of how she feeds.
Okay. And also watch how your babies are growing, thriving. You know, are they, is their weight gain not appropriate? Is it stalled in an inappropriate way? Follow up with your healthcare provider. Use those well visits as an opportunity to ask questions. And of course, follow up with the lactation professional. Unfortunately, not all of our healthcare providers are as well versed in breastfeeding as we would like them to be, but they can at least give you an idea of how your babies are thriving. All right. Let's do this one last question, and for anyone that we haven't gotten to your question while we were in this session today, we'll definitely address it with you through any communication methods that you have shared with us. But this last question comes from Tori. Her baby is 18 months, and she asks very simply, how do I stop my daughter from comfort nursing throughout the day? So comfort nursing basically is sometimes referred to as non-nutritive nursing. They're not nursing for the nutrition. They're not necessarily nursing because they're hungry, but they are feeling comforted by it. And I find that 18-month-olds, they still need that mom's touch. Sometimes they go through a separation anxiety phase, and they really want to be near you more than they typically might at any other period. And sometimes they're teething, and that can cause them to comfort nurse. So how do you deal with comfort nursing when you just might be touched out? You don't want any part of that because it's happening too often throughout the day. Who wants to tackle that? Africaine, you got any suggestions?
Yes. So it's important to remember to talk to our children. Again, 18 months old, that these children are brilliant. Okay, so to say, mom loves you, but I need some time to myself for a second. They'll understand that. They may not like it at first, but to have conversations with your children about where you are when it comes to breastfeeding is really important. And then that opens up a larger form of communication, because breastfeeding, that's communication, the looking at your child, the skin to skin, but actually having a conversation with your children works. Mom does not want to breastfeed every 5 minutes. I need a minute. If you want to have some time with mom, give me 10 minutes and come back and we can do whatever. But start talking to them, and then find something that they enjoy doing with you that doesn't involve breastfeeding. So if they're coming to you with hey, I want to breastfeed because I need to be comforted, it's like, hey, come over here, let mom show you how mom can draw, and let's see if you can draw like mom, or if you can color like mom, or something to try to deter their need to breastfeed just for attention. Put their minds on something else. You can distract them, but just make sure that you keep the lines of communication open. That's so important. I know my son, he breastfed until he was 3, and I told him like 2 months before he turned 3, when you're 3 years old, you won't be able to breastfeed anymore. Okay, and when he got closer to his birthday, he would say, am I 3 today? No, you're not. Good. Can I nurse? Sure. Like we had these conversations. So it wasn't a big deal when his birthday came and he said, am I 3 today? Yes, you are 3 today. Oh, okay, well, can I go play with my truck? He seriously, because we had that line of communication open, it wasn't something that was traumatizing to either one of us, because we were expecting it. We talk about everything, and that's so important, is to remember to talk to your children, because they do understand, and they will. I think Angela mentioned it. Children just want to make sure that their mothers are happy. So if you're saying, mom really doesn't want to do this right now, they'll get it, and they're not going to want to do anything that's going to make mom unhappy. Mom doesn't want to do this right now, that's fine. Then what else can we do so I can still spend some time with mom, but mom's still happy? That's all you have to do. So start opening up those lines of communication. You can do that when they're 6 weeks old. You can do that when they're 6 hours old. And when they're 18 months old, they get it. Mom doesn't want to do this right now. Let's find something else to do. And they will totally understand where you're coming from, and they will respect that. So just start there.
And then also, I just wanted to add, when you think about comfort, comfort is never going to end. It's just going to change, like African, alluded to. And so my 2.5-year-old, I noticed, and I was telling my husband the other day, because, again, my schedule has changed and I'm away from her for 2 days out the week, longer times. I've noticed that she has been nursing during the day and night like she's back at 6 months old. And I had to remember, she just needed my comfort. So sometimes if I'm in the place where I can have her comfort nurse as much as possible, or she wants, I'll do that. But then if I'm not, like African said, I'll talk to her and I'll say, Isabella, mommy doesn't want to nurse right now, but can I give you a hug? And because I'm still acknowledging that she needs comforted, and I'm giving her other options. And sometimes if we haven't, again, communicated to them and given them other options, the only option they know to comfort is to breastfeed. But if we've given them, well, you can hug me, you can kiss me, you can rub my face, something else, or you can tell me something else that I can do to comfort you. When we give them those tools, they'll begin to use them. And breastfeeding won't always be the thing that they turn to. So comforting is never going to end, but we just teach them other ways that mommy can comfort them.
I live in a very high-touch house. That means we like to touch a lot. And so similar to you, Angela, I have 5 children. And so I have older set, younger set. And my youngest son, Silas, loves what we call comfort sucking, just being at breast. And one of the things that we developed, similar to you as well, Angela, is doing hugs. Well, I would sometimes be overstimulated with there's just too much touching going on. So I would give him my pinky as he got older. And so at 2 years old, when there was times where I was like, okay, I've had enough touching for the day, he would say, well, can I have your pinky? And so I would give him my pinky, and he would hold my pinky, and we would watch TV or read a book together or just hang out together, just him holding my pinky. And now that he is 15, if we're out and about and he's feeling slightly uncomfortable about his environment, I feel this nice little warm touch on my pinky. And I know, okay, he needs some comfort. What's going on in the environment that's overwhelming? And it is a thing that, as you said, will continue throughout parenting. And we don't stop parenting just because they turn 18 or turn 40. It's a continual thing. And I appreciate when my older sons come home and I give them a big old hug and I can say, what's going on? Mama can tell, mama. So that touch is still really important, but yes, it can be extremely overwhelming at times. But supplementing or even using a distraction can be helpful as well.
And I just want to add one of the things that I found helpful is putting a time limit, sort of. So if it's one of those situations where, okay, they just got nothing else is distracting, maybe try getting them used to maybe counting, nursing to a count of 10. So what I would do when I was feeling touched out, my son just really, really, really wanted to nurse anyway, we just kind of got in this rhythm of, all right, we're going to nurse, but when mommy counts to 10, she reaches 10, that's the time to unlatch. And it got to the point where sometimes I would get to 5 and they're like, all right, are we at 10 yet? No. Okay. They go back on and they know they have like another 5 counts before they have to let go. So nursing manners are something that you can start to teach your little ones as they start to really understand that you are a separate person and you have boundaries. So don't be afraid to introduce that. All right, so we're slightly over or end time, but that's okay because we did start a little bit late, unfortunately. But I think this has been a really good session, and I hope that all of you watching this now and those of you who will be watching it later, because this will be available on our YouTube channel, Black Women Do Breastfeed, that you will have found this to be as informative as well. Really quickly, I just want you ladies to maybe just give us, where you can be found, what to look out for from you. I'll start with you, Africaine. If you can just quickly tell us how we can find you again and what you're up to.
Well, I'm always on Facebook. Unfortunately, I have a Facebook addiction, so you can always find me on Facebook, and it's African AFRYKAYN, Moon, MOON. You can send me a friend request, or you can find me on my documentaries page, which is The History of My Chocolate Milk. We have a Facebook page, so you can reach out to me there. I'm always on Facebook, unfortunately. Like, seriously, I have the worst addiction on the planet. So you can just send me a message on Facebook. I can guarantee you at some point during the day I popped on, and I will see your message when you send me a message on Facebook. As far as what we have going on now, I have the documentary coming out, The History of My Chocolate Milk, and it's doing really well. We need more donations, so if people want to make donations, that would be awesome. And then I have my third child is due in October, so I'm giving birth both ways. I'm working and giving birth that way, and I'm actually having my third child, so I have a lot going on right now.
Thanks, Africaine. Angela, real quick, just tell us how we can find you and what you have coming up.
Okay, she said real quick. You can find me. I will be back active in helping to moderate on Black Women Do Breastfeed, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. So if you send a message in the inbox. Also, I'm currently working and are starting a military support group in my community, but also a military global support group called Mom to Mom Global. So if you are at a military base, start looking for Mom to Mom Global. I'm sorry, Mom to Mom at your particular base. If you don't have one, request one, and we can be found on Facebook as well. And I am finishing up my Pathway 2 program at UNC-Chapel Hill. I'm excited about that and always learning. After that, I do plan to open up my private practice in my community, help to see what we can do to get our local hospital to reach that breastfeeding friendly status, and just try to educate our moms so that they know, instead of learning about breastfeeding while they're pregnant, that they start from young, so that this becomes just a natural thing. You don't even give it a second thought. You get pregnant, you feed your baby, and that's my goal that I'm looking forward to, as well as getting more understanding of human milk sharing in our community, because I think that is important as well. So I'll be around some form or fashion.
Thank you, Angela. And finally, Virginia, can you tell us how we can find you and what you will be up to in the future? Uh-oh.
She just has to unmute herself.
Yeah. Please unmute.
So sorry. We have a lot going on. Charlotte Breastfeeding Rose, which is located in Charlotte, North Carolina, has a breastfeeding group that meets every last Monday of each month at the Plaza Midwood Library. So we encourage everyone to come out to this, I was going to say tomorrow, but it's this Saturday. We are doing a lift up to celebrate Black Breastfeeding Week, and you guys are co-hosting with us, and we're at Imaginon, uptown Charlotte. So we hope that you guys come out. You'll see flyers around. Also, Charlotte Breastfeeding Rose does have a GoFundMe account for a scholarship for lactation consultants of color, IBCLCs of color. We want to support and see more of us out there helping each other, helping our sisters to breastfeed, and normalizing breastfeeding. And then the last thing, of course, if you want to connect directly to me, I'm always at Novant Health. You can ask anyone, and I'll be there. I'm Greater Charlotte, so that's Matthews, Huntersville, and in Charlotte. And then the Breast Help is our lactation consultants that will assist you mobily, so that's there and available for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Virginia. And of course, I'm Nicole Sanford, again, creator of Black Women Do Breastfeed. You can reach me either through our Facebook page, Black Women Do Breastfeed, or you can send us an email. You can send it to bwdbf@blackwomendobreastfeed.org. And thank you to everyone who has participated in our very first BWDBF live event. Hopefully we'll be able to have some more of these in the future. Please let us know what you thought of this and what things you think we should address in the future. But again, thank you everyone for coming out, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Have a good one.